Hello everyone, welcome back to our Python learning series. I am Deepesh, and in today's session we will dive into one of the most important concepts in Python, that is functions. So first of all, we will see what is a function. Function is a reusable block of code that performs a specific task. Okay, functions are blocks that are reusable. They make our programs organized, readable, and easy to debug. Today we will explore different types of functions, from functions with no arguments, functions with default or keyword arguments, and as well as we also see two functions that return values. The types of functions. So there are two types of functions: built-in functions that are already in Python and user-defined function. So we will see these both one by one. So what are built-in functions? First, we will see what are built-in functions. Built-in functions means the functions which are already present in our Python code by default. We do not need to create different function by us, so we can use it further. We can directly call these functions in our program and use it. Like print function, in every single program we are using print function for getting output as a result. Okay, then this length, it will measure the length of the value. Okay, the max value, sum, range, which these are by default, which are provided by Python to us. So these are by default. Now user defined function means the functions which we created for our help, means zero defined function which we develop for our program by our program created by programmers, which can help us in our program. Okay, user defined function, here we define a function, define greet. Whenever the greet function is called, it will print the result hello Python learners. In place of this hello Python learner, we can write another code also which we want to execute again and again whenever you call the function. For right now, I'm just printing the result that hello Python learners whenever the function greet is called. If you run this, then you can see it is getting output hello Python learners. Okay, so this is user defined function. When this greet function is called, then it will be executed. Is parameters and return values. So first of all, we will see what are parameters and functions with parameters. Functions can take inputs to process data. Here, input can be considered as parameters. Whenever we define a function, we create some values like here a and b. These a and b are parameters, and this return keyword is return values. Okay. So what are parameters? Function can take input or parameters, you can say, to process data. And for return value, if you want a function to return a value, we use return keyword. Okay, so in this example we can see this a can be said as parameter, b can be said as another parameter. We are using two parameters and giving result. So what is result? Return. So result is what? Add 10 comma 5, 10 comma 5. Here 10 is a and b is 5. Okay, so the result will be sum. Now it is telling parameter and argument. Parameter means variable inside the function. Here what are the variables? A is variable, b is variable. These are inside the function which we are defining. Now when we are calling the function, how uh, where do we call this? This is calling result add 10 comma 5. So here it is argument value. 10 is argumented value, 5 is argumented value. Value passed while calling. Okay, this is the same program which we have told earlier. We have seen earlier. Now if you run this, so the sum will be 15. If you want another result, we just need to change the values like 15 and 15. If you run this, then it will result 20. So this it will add the value of a and b. This is the function we define. Add a function, then it will give us addition of this. Okay, so these are parameters and return value. Default and keyword argument. Default arguments and keyword arguments. So a default argument is a function parameter that has a default value assigned to it. If the caller does not provide a value for that parameter, Python uses the default. Okay, so here we can see an example. We can see example that it is defining a function greet and their name is student. So if you print hello, and name will be taken from this parameter here. So if we call the function greet and greet Deepesh. Greet Deepesh means here a student name is what? Here name is parameter. Now here we are giving default value of this parameter Deepesh. We have given the data that your default parameter value is what? Deepesh. Now if we call this argument, if we call greet function directly, then it will print only hello student, because we didn't provide any name like here Deepesh. So it will print hello student directly. If you call Deepesh here, like we are calling Deepesh, then only it will print hello Deepesh. Otherwise, it will print only hello student. So this is default argument example. We will see this in VS Code and you will understand. So so this is the same program which we have seen. Now here one time we are not defining any value for this parameter name, and in second time we are defining the parameter Deepesh in place of student. So it should print hello student, and second line it should print hello Deepesh because first time we are not defining anything. So by default it is student. So what is printing? Hello student, hello Deepesh. Okay. So like this default arguments are working. So what is keyword argument? Keyword argument is a parameter passed to a function by explicitly naming it rather than relying on its position. So here you can see we are defining intro, name, and age. First we are defining name, then we are defining age. So but when we are calling the function intro here, that time we are first giving the value age and then we are giving the value Divesh. So keyword argument means we do not need the value input in a proper manner. We are defining the value based on the keywords. Here keyword is what name, keyword is what age. So based on this age and name keyword only, we are defining the value Dipesh and age 20. So in keyword arguments, so in keyword argument, the only thing matter is what keywords. We do not need require any kind of positioning of the values when we are calling the functions. Okay, so this is our keyword argument example. Let's move forward. Variable scope. So variable, there are two types of variable scope: local variable and global variable. So as you know, what is variable? I think variable we created to get to store data value. Okay, so there are two types of variables: local variable and global variable. Local variable means the function which is defined, the variable which is defined inside the function, and global variable means the variable we defined outside the function. Using global keyword, it allows us modifying a global variable inside a function. Okay, that is another thing. So first of all, we will see what is global. Here we are defining a function. So, and when we define this, this is the function which we define. Now inside this function, we are defining x. X value is what 5. It is local because we are defining x value inside the function, and another x value is what 10. This is defining outside the function. So when we run this program, first of all, if we print 5 because first we are calling the function so function. So when we call so function, it will print value of this x. Then there is another print x. Now print x is, it will take the value from this because this is global one. Then x value will be 10. Okay. So let's see this in VS Code. There you will understand. Then first of all, it is printing 5 because we are calling first function. Then it is printing 10 because it is outside the function where x value is 10. Okay. So these are global variable and local variable. Move forward. Some practice programs we will do it by Python. Okay, so let's see. Our first program is check if a number is prime. First program. So this is our first program. Here we are telling so many things. We will now see this. Here is prime is function which we are defining function. Okay. After that, in this function we are taking an argument num, and the function will check whether the number is prime number or not. After these two, prime numbers are always, prime number are always greater than one only. If number is less than one, then if number is less than 1, then it can be 0 or negative value only. So this cannot be considered as prime number. That's why first is false. Okay. Now this is for loop. After this condition is getting false, then this will be considered for I in range from 2 until the limit, whatever the number we are getting. So this loop will check if number is divisible from 2 until the value of number minus 1. Okay. You can say like number is, if number is 3, then this will check from, it will divide from 1 2, it will divide from 3. Let's not take 3, let's take number as 10, something number, you will understand it by that. So if number is 10, then it will divide it by 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. and if it is divisible by any of these number, then it will be not prime number. That's why it is telling if any of the number divisible by this and the remainder is zero, any of these number from 2 to until the number ending, then the result will be zero. That's if the if the remainder will be zero, then the condition is false. It means it is divisible by that number. So that's why it is false. Otherwise, it will return true. Yeah, that number is prime number, and this is output we are giving as an in- input of enter a number if is prime number and print f n is a prime number, else f n is not a prime number. So here n is what num. If we run this program, then we will get enter a number. If we enter this number, let's 5, then 5 is a prime number. If we rerun the same thing, then again if we put 9, then 9 is not a prime number. It is divisible by 3. Okay, so like this program works. We will move to our next program, that is find a factorial using functions. Program for practice, that is function factorial program. So in this factorial program, we will see that we are defining a function factorial, and inside that factorial, we are giving an argument n, means parameter n. Now this is coding part here. We are taking local variable fact, and inside that local variable, we are giving as one value as one. So it will run run the loop from range one to whatever the value we are giving plus one. Okay, so if the n value is what like 3, then it will run the loop from 1 to 4 or 1 to 5. So whatever the value we are giving, it will run up to that. As I told you earlier, whenever the this range is working, so it will always printing up to n minus 1 value. So if we want the value as n in final, then we always have to get n plus 1 only in the range. So factorial multiply equal to I. It means when factorial is equal to factorial of fact of I. So whatever the value will be there of fact in the end, it will be returned. Now this is calling a function. It is calling num equal to input and int value of input, whatever the value it is giving. Like it is giving 29, then it will take in num, and it is calling this function factorial here. Factorial of num is factorial num. This is calling of function here. So if we run this program, enter a number. Let's run number 5 again. Then factorial of that number is 120. Okay, so like this simple program using function we are develop for factorial. Now next program, that is function for simple interest. So this is our next program for simple interest. Here we are defining the function simple interest, and we are giving value, parameters like principal, rate, and time. And in return, whatever in return, it will return the value like this formula, basic formula of simple interest, principal into rate into time upon 100. So now it is calling the function here. It will take PRT as principal rate time as in for input, and for simple interest, it is calling function PRT. Okay, so like this, it will call the function for simple interest, and if you run this, then you will get the result. If you run this, enter a principal amount. Let's say principal amount is 100, so you will be able to understand this. And rate is like 20%, and time is 1 year. Then the result, simple interest is what 20. Out of 100 rupees, the rate is 20 for 1 year. Then it will be 20 rupees in simple interest. So these all were our programs. So now this fourth program function to find greatest of three numbers. I am leaving this fourth one for you to practice by yourself. And if you cover any doubt, then tell me. I will solve it. So now this is completed. We will now summarize our core concepts. First of all, we defined what are functions, and how to call these functions. So I think you know how to define a function or call the functions and the types of functions. So what are functions? Function in a Python is a block of code that runs only when it is called. Okay, and why we use function for a reusable code or reduce repetition of code and making debugging easier, improve readability, and support modular programming. So for these things, we use function in Python, and there are two types of function: built-in function, user-defined function. Built-in function means the function which are already defined by Python for us. We do not need to create another function by user, like print function, length function, addition function. So like this, there are some functions. After that, user-defined function, the function which defined by user for his code by himself, that is very defined function. For after that, how to call that function, we just need to call it by whatever the name we have given earlier for defining the function. We just call it by that name, so we will call easily. After that, we use parameters and return values. In parameters and return values also, parameters are the values inside the function, like a and b, whatever the values we are giving, and return value, whatever the result and output should be come from that function, that is return value we are getting. And next we understood local and global scope. Local and global scope is nothing but local variable and global variable. Local variable means we can understand that the variable inside the function, that is local variable, and function variable outside the function is global variable. After that, we have solved three problems. That three problems were what? Prime number. Then after that, we have seen factorial of numbers. After that, we have seen simple interest. The fourth one is greatest number among three numbers. So you have to do this fourth one by yourself. If you get any confusion or any doubt, then you can comment me. I will solve it. So in next module, we will see. In next video, we will see modules and import in Python. So that is also important part. So thank you for watching.